Hey home brewers, and welcome back to Northwest Small Batch Brewing. I am Steven, and today we're going to be brewing up a wheat wine. Now, I have never had a wheat wine, so this will be interesting. I've had barley wine, wheat wine is just it's like a Hefeweizen with more alcohol in it and more grain and more, more. It's more. So. Stick around. I'll go over the grain bill and we'll get started. See you in a moment. All right, y'all, I'm going to make this quick because I've been getting better at making these all-day brewing videos shorter, but this one is still hitting at least 40 minutes. I want to get that down to like 20 minutes is my goal for one of these, but it's hard. In order to make a shorter video for you, I have to cut out a lot of material. Anyway, so this wheat wine is going to have obviously wheat malt in it. It's going to have Vienna malt, CaraMunich malt, pale malt, and Melanoidin. I don't know. I'll have it in the description. Never heard of it. And I'm gonna throw in like a handful of rice hulls because it is wheat. It's just to help make sure that it doesn't get stuck. Lots of hops in this one. 1.5 ounces of Columbus CTZ. An ounce of Mount Hood and an ounce of Sterling. I'll put it in, well, you'll see if you watch the whole video, but I'll put it in the description. It's a 60-minute, a 5-minute, and a flameout edition. What else? I use Safale yeast, US-05. Very good, high tolerant yeast. It's very clean. This has an alcohol tolerance of like a 9 to 11%, so I should be able to get a higher percentage of alcohol out of it without it being a problem. I think that's it. There's nothing really too fancy or crazy in this. I am going to oak it, so I'll be putting some whiskey and extra oaked whiskey into it. But other than that, there is no other special additions to it. So, I'm not going to show you the actual milling of the grain. I will pop up a little link in a minute here when I'm showing you the kitchen of a video that shows how to mill the grain. I took that out so it would take a little less room up in this video, but you can watch that if you're wanting to see that part of the process. So, I'll see you in a minute in the kitchen, and we'll get started with mashing in. All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm going to do this a little differently. Instead of videotaping the entire thing and making a super long video, I'm just going to basically give you a summary, then I'll do it and I'll come back. So I've got my 2 buckets of grain. Remember, it's more grain than I can fit in my system at one time. So basically I've got my water already at the strike temperature that I want, and I'm just going to put it in and mash in 1 bucket, let it mash for an hour, then I'll drain it, get rid of that grain, put in the second bucket of grain, and then mash that for an hour, and then continue on as usual. So I'll see you back here. I'll probably come back in an hour just to show you that I'm putting in the second bucket. All right, guys, welcome back. It's been an hour. The first mash is done. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do what you've seen me do a million times probably already. I'm going to take a little baggie here so this doesn't drip everywhere. Tends to do that. So I can get it out of the way temporarily before I put the next mash. All right. I'm going to leave the kettle turned on. And I'm just going to pull this out. I'll let it drain. Then I will get rid of the grain that's in here and recycle it. Yeah, this thing is always so heavy. All right, so we'll let this grain drain, dump it, put in the fresh grain, and start another batch of mashing for another hour. I'm also going to sparge 1 gallon. So there's 3.5 gallons I started with. I'm going to sparge 1 gallon of hot water over this, get rid of the grain, mash the next one, sparge another gallon of water. See you back here in a bit. Alright guys, so we finished the second mash here. I'm going to pull it up, let it start draining. It's my timer going off right now. Tell me the mash is done. We'll drain it, I'll sparge it with another gallon of water, and then we'll start the boil. So I'll see you back here in a moment to start the boil. Alright guys, so just turn the fan off for a second so you can hear me. We're at a boil here. We haven't quite hit the hot break. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's still a lot of foam there. I'll be putting in the hops in a minute here in my little hop spider deal. So there's 1.5 ounces of Columbus hops going in just a moment. And then there are 2 other hop additions that'll be in the recipe, but they basically say to put one at 5 minutes to the end and then one at flameout. Because of my electric system, I'm not even going to worry about doing that. I'm going to just put them both in at 5 minutes till. And then we will take a reading, see where we're at, top up if we need to. Well, we will need to. I will need to. And then I'm going to start chilling it down. I've got a new little system. It'll be fun to show you. So I will be back probably when I'm adding my next my last hop additions. All right, guys, I got to do this fast so I can get the fan back on. But I wanted to show you guys. Hopefully, I'm not right in the way. This thermo well. So what I'm going to do is the normal topping up with ice to get it to the temperature or the amount I need to be in here at the end. But even with the ice, it won't cool it enough to be able to pitch yeast right away. I got this device so, like during the summertime, I wanted to see if it will allow me to brew better beer. So you have your normal lid for your fermenter, and then you have this craziness going on here. See if I can try to show you. Basically, this big metal thing, so sorry, goes in. You have a thermo well. That's where you put your thermometer. Right here I have a thermometer that will go down into that to monitor the temperature, and I can tell it what temperature I want it to turn on. And then this will hook up to this pump, right? And the pump goes in a cooler of ice water, and it pumps ice water through this, through this device into the, and the water never touches the actual brew, so there's no chance of it getting infected or anything. And other than that, of course, this will be interesting getting a airlock on here. I haven't quite got that far yet, but it should maintain the temperature and it'll help cool down, and I might be able to pitch yeast tonight instead of tomorrow, which is what I'm hoping, because tomorrow's Monday and I have to work, so I'd rather do it today. All right, boil's still going. I'll come back for the final hop addition. Thanks. All right, guys, we're getting super close here, so we've got about 5 minutes left. This is Sterling, 1 ounce of Sterling going in. This one doesn't smell as strong. Interesting. Anyway, and this is 1 ounce of Mount Hood Alpha Acid 4.6, if you want to know. 1 ounce of Mount Hood hop pellets.
says it's a spicy. Spicy. Let's take a look here. I hate when these things don't open. Wow. Again, I mean, initially, to me, usually they smell really strong, you know, and so it's weird when they don't. I always give this thing a... The hops in the hop spider like to hang out at the top and not really get going, so there you go. We'll give it another 5 minutes and then this will be shut down, and we'll find out how much water I need to add to dilute, and I'm going to actually move it into the fermenter to start cooling it. Obviously I won't pitch the yeast until it's at the right temperature. So yeah, I'll see you back here in a second when I'm ready to transfer. All right, guys, so welcome back. The boil is done, and I'm doing something I haven't done before because I have that new system. This is just a sanitized silicone tube, and I hope it's not going to get too hot. I know it can handle the heat, but I did sanitize all of this. Probably not necessary because this is still nearly boiling, but just for the heck of it. So I'm going to transfer what's in here, and then I'm going to top it up with ice, which will cool it down. But first I have to figure out how much I have, and so I'm going to transfer it. And one of the reasons I'm transferring it also is because the measurements on this fermenter are correct. So it's going to be easier for me to be able to do that. Just grabbing a glove here because this is still hot. You know, just for the sake of not burning myself. Where are we at here? That's like pretty much every last drop, and there wasn't really much sediment. So there you go. That's done. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the camera, and I'll get you guys a reading, and then tell you how much water is going to go back into this. All right, we'll be back. Well, hey everybody, welcome back. I want to give you a quick update. If you don't remember, or you didn't see it a couple weeks ago, I posted a video. Sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet. I posted a video that I had sort of a beer brewing failure. I was making this wheat wine that you see today, and the gravity reading was so low, it wasn't even reasonable. So I went about methodically trying to figure out, okay, what was it that caused the problem? What could have made that happen? And so I decided to do it again and make sure every little step was exactly how I would want it. And as it turns out, I did. Like, everything went exactly how I wanted. And then I took a refractometer reading, and I didn't get the number I wanted. So after I finished boiling, the wort, finished the full boil, I had 3 gallons of liquid left in the pot. So it should have been condensed, and I would have needed to top it up to get where I wanted to be. But how much do you top it up to make sure you don't go over and sort of water it down? So there is a calculator online. I'll put it in the description, but basically you take your post-boil volume, whatever your gravity reading is, and then what you want it to be. What you want it to be is, of course, your OG, your original gravity. And then it will tell you how much water you're short or need to dilute to meet or get to that gravity number. And that way you know how much water to top up. So I had 3 gallons of post-boil water. The reading I got through the refractometer was 1.116. That may seem high, but remember, I'm doing a wine. and I wanted somewhere like 12%, right? So the expected gravity after it was at like full 5.5 gallons is supposed to be 1.117. Again, I got a reading of 1.116, right? 1116 at 3 gallons, and I wanted 1117 at 5.5. There's no way in God's green earth that's going to happen, right? If I top it up, it's going to be off. So I've discovered that maybe there's an issue with the refractometer reading, or wheat is notoriously difficult to work with. So maybe it's a problem with the wheat, and I just didn't extract what I wanted. So I decided I'm going to top it up to 5.5 gallons and just see what happens. You know, maybe I'll end up with a wheat beer, and that's okay. You know, as long as it has enough gravity that I can get enough ABV out of it. Well, as it turns out, I think it was an error with the refractometer reading. And by the way, I should have said this already, but I will post a link in one of the corners to the video I did a few weeks ago where I didn't get the gravity reading I wanted and was going through what could have caused it. So if you want to see that. So here I am. I've already topped it up. It's actually sat overnight to cool, and I topped it up to 5.5 gallons. I've aerated it, and I've actually transferred it into a fermenter. And I actually have my new, I don't know what you want to call it. It's a temperature control, basically. It takes ice water from a cooler and runs it through metal pipes that go into the fermenter. So and I have it set to, right now I have it set to 65 degrees. So if the wort gets above 65, it'll turn on and pump freezing cold water through the pipes that are in the wort and hopefully bring it down a few degrees. My experience has been wheat wine, similar to making cider, can have a lot of off flavors if the temperature of the fermentation gets off. All right, let's get to this. I kind of already wrote this down, but here's the sample. Just so you can see me do this. Apologize, but it's too dark here. I can't see without an extra light. And it moved on me. Of course it moves. You know what? It's like Murphy's Law. Like as soon as you get it where you can read it, it moves. So I was getting 1096. So there's 1080, 1090, 1092, 1094. But I think if I move it to the center a little bit, yeah, because the coloring's out, so 1090, 246, 1096 for sure. So 1096 is pretty high for a beer. If you've made beers before, they're like in the 1040 range, 1045, I don't know, something like that. Normally, right? So that's a good sign. So I did a little bit of jiggering online in the math and found that 1096 equates to, well, if it ferments all the way to 1, which it won't, but if it did, it would give me like 12% or a little over 12% ABV. So I still feel like I could hit 10%. It just depends on how far it ferments out. But to me, that's still a barley wine or a wheat wine. Now, if it goes below 10%, you're more in the imperial range, like an imperial stout range. And that's still ageable, meaning I could still age it to get it to mellow the flavor. So in my book, this is still a win. It's still winning, right? So I'm just putting a label here, OG, original gravity, 1096. And I should put the date. So plan is in a week, I'll be back, and I'm going to put some oak chips that I got into some whiskey and let it sort of sit there and soak up the oak chips for a week. And then I'll put the whiskey that has been soaking the oak chips into the wheat beer so that I can oak it. So it's an oaked wheat wine. So that'll be next week. In case you're curious, you can't really use regular ale yeast. It doesn't go high enough. You'd be stressing the yeast to try to get it to give you a higher ABV. So I'm using, I don't think you'll be able to see this. I'll hold it for a second, but I'm going to read it to you because my guess is, per usual, you'll get a lot of glare. So this is Lalvin, EC 1118. It was supposed to be, yeah, so it says it's for sparkling wines. The reason I said supposed to be is I read something where it just said it was wine yeast and I didn't see sparkling wine. I did that because it's a champagne yeast. Champagne yeast is designed to be able to go to higher ABV levels. So this should have no problem. I think that, I mean, this can go to like 18% or something like that. So it should have no problem hitting 10 to 12% with no off flavors. Now the weird thing is it does say on the back that it prefers a temperature of 95 to 98 degrees Fahrenheit, which seems weird to me. I've never had a yeast that actually requested that high temperature. And so I'm not going to do it. I'm afraid if I do that, it's going to screw it up. I'm going to leave it at about 65 degrees, 65 to 68 degrees or whatever. And that's where I'm going to ferment it. It might be a slower fermentation, but it should be cleaner and better tasting. And I always let it ferment for a full month at the minimum anyway. So we're all set. I'll see you in a week just to get the oak chips ready and the whiskey. And then we'll go from there. See you soon. All right, welcome everybody. So it's been a week, more or less, and it's time to start oaking, I should say more oaking, my whiskey. So I got my little sort of handy dandy scale here. I'm going to set it to ounces. I am going to zero out or tear out this jar. And this is, you probably can't read it, but this is a 1 pound bag of barrel chips that I got from Westward Whiskey, one of my favorite local distilleries. I really love their whiskey, so I just love it. Okay, so being able to use this is fantastic. 1.5 ounces, that's 1.73. That'll do. And then the question is, how much whiskey? I'll pick a whiskey that you don't have to use what I'm using. This is kind of an expensive whiskey, but it's just not my favorite. So it's good in this case to use it. But whatever whiskey you want to use, just think of what might complement. That's it. I don't want to go crazy. You decide how much you want to put in. I think you can just eyeball it. So there I've got whiskey. This particular whiskey is kind of a honey forward, cinnamon, clovey sort of thing. Normally I wouldn't want so much headspace, but it's only going to be for a week. So this oak chips will sit in there and help flavor this even more. And then of course it gets a little diluted when you add it to your beer. So I will see you in about a week where we'll take out the oak chips and pour the whiskey into the fermenter. And then we'll give it another couple weeks and be able to bottle up and taste the wheat wine. I wanted to call it beer, but I won't even get into the linguistics of what's a beer, what's a wine, what's a cider, what's a meat. So anyway, I'll see you probably in about a week to pour the whiskey into the fermenter. All right, everybody, so it's been another week, and for those who are counting, that means we have completed 2 weeks of fermentation, and the oak has been sitting in the whiskey for a week. Pulled that out, and that's going to go into the fermenter, and then we're going to give it 2 more weeks to finish up, and then we'll bottle. So I'm just going to unclamp. And all this paraphernalia on my fermenter is a temperature control system that I disconnected because it got cold here and there's not really a reason to have it. But rather than take the bung out and everything else, I'm leaving it all connected. Here's the whiskey that I had in the oak. I'm just going to open this up a tad, take a peek because I can. Pour in the whiskey. Done. Done deal. So I'm just going to snap it shut. And we will see you in 2 weeks for bottling. Catch you then. All right, everybody. So I've already got this set up. Everything's been sanitized. The tube is sanitized. I was just thinking to remind you, if you're doing a tube, make sure that you put the sprayed sanitizer in it, and then hold both ends and really sort of jiggle it back and forth so it all gets sanitized. Sanitize the outside of the tube as well because of where it's at. It's inside here. Yeah, so I'm all set to go. I am going to sanitize this so I can sort of scrape. If you're looking for how much sugar I did and to do the priming for carbonation, look up in the top corner of the screen and I'll put a link to a priming video that I did. Specifically, it was for this beer, but you can watch that if you want to see that step that I didn't add to this video, so I could save a little bit of time for you. So I'm just going to spray. You can't see this probably. I'm just spraying off my, little sanitizer. So the priming sugar goes in the bottom, and this is 5 ounces of priming sugar with about 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar to break it down into glucose, and about 1 cup of water is in this. All right, so all I'm going to do is turn on the spigot, and if we're lucky, it will gently transfer from my fermenter. There it goes, into my bottling bucket. Boom. So after this is done, I'm just going to let it sit for a while. I will gently stir it before I take a reading and all of that. So I'll be back when I'm ready to get a reading and start bottling. See you in a few. All right, guys. So final clip before we're done until the tasting. I've got the beer in the bottling bucket. I've got my little tubing so that I can quickly bottle stuff more easily. First time doing that, so you're going to watch me probably screw it up the first time, but you learn. Got my bottle caps, my crimper. Okay, let's just show you how I'm going to do this. This is not really on. I knew I wasn't going to have it long. It's just sort of setting there. But so these bottles have all been washed, so they're clean, and they're brand new anyway. This is my little handy dandy deal. I'll put a link to it. You just put the bottle upside down and squeeze a few times. It creates like a little siphon, and it shoots sanitizer up inside the bottle. It's super handy. It's a really good way to maximize your sanitizer. Then the question is, how much do I need to leave headroom so I don't make a huge mess? We will find out. So you can use a siphon for this part if you want. That's up to you. By the way, I suppose I should tell you I did take a reading. So it started off about a month ago. Original gravity was 1096. Final gravity today is just shy of a month because I wanted to get this done. So final gravity is 1024. No, 1004. 1004. 1024. Sorry, I'm just yeah. Whoa. This is going to take a little bit of... Yeah, that's not great. Well, like I said, it'll sanitize my bottle cap, put the bottle cap on, and I got to make sure it's really sealed because I think I didn't seal my last beer. Whoa, I heard some crunching. It's making me nervous. So, just making sure, extra sure, that this sucker's sealed. That's it. I would have liked a little bit more room in the top, but actually that's okay. It'll be fine. There you go. First beer is bottled. So, I'm going to continue this, doing this. You don't need to stick around and watch me do all 50 or so bottles. Well, welcome everybody. You've made it. Congratulations, you're here. It's the end. We get to taste the final product. I'm super excited and also very nervous because the last high alcohol beer I made, which was
like a black cherry oaked stout. The first bottle was fantastic. Then a month later, I tried the next bottle and it was flat and watery, not very good. So I was really, 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 really cognizant of making sure that I mixed this well with the priming sugar and everything. And gosh, I'm hoping it's good. Somewhere around, I believe it was 9.5% ABV. Never had a wheat wine. I actually bought a commercially made wheat wine at a local store that sells lots of little specialty beers around here. And that's where I got the idea. I was like, huh. Now, I haven't tried it yet. So after I try this one, I'm going to go grab the commercial one and compare it just to see if there's, if it's similar. But let's see if there's, I'm going to get my microphone closer, if there's, gosh, I hope there's carbonation. I heard a little bit. I don't know if you heard it, but I heard a little bit of a fist, sound. So we'll see. Here it goes. First ever wheat wine. Wow. Do you know it looks a lot like a Hefeweizen, which makes sense because a Hefeweizen is a wheat beer. Oh, I think we'll stop there. Please don't go over. Well, I can see carbonation in it. So that's the first thing I'm super jazzed about. I can actually see carbonation. I don't know how much, but I see carbonation. And look, there's a really nice head on it, so that is also an indication that it's nicely chilled and it has good carbonation. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you except it smells like a wheat beer. Yeah, I mean, it does. There's no fruit or anything like that in this. It's really just a wheat wine, which is basically a high, ABV wheat beer. It looks like a wheat beer. It's hazy, it's unfiltered. So far, I love everything about it. So let's see. And I love wheat beers. So I'm hoping, man, that looks nice. That looks nice. Let's give it a taste here if I can get around the foam on the top. Okay. Oh, that's nice. So a couple thoughts. First of all, I haven't decided yet. I'm going to have to take a few more sips. I think the carbonation level's good. It actually, initially to me, feels like it's a little low, the carbonation level. But I mean, I could see lots of bubbles in here, lots of them. And when you naturally bottle carbonate something, it tends to have smaller bubbles, which this does, and so it's less fizzy, if that makes sense. It's like kind of like when you do a nitro tap. It's a softer carbonation. So that may be why I'm experiencing what feels like it might be undercarbonated, but nothing like that last beer I was talking about that came out flat. Flavor-wise, definitely has the beer. The wheat beer flavor, for sure. Exactly what I would expect. It is a little bit bitter on the finish. It's almost, when you drink an amber or a pale ale, not quite an IPA, it has that bitterness quality to it. Now, I can't remember how many hops, were in this. So obviously that's from the hops. But it's not overpowering. Like, this would be fantastic to have with some cheese and crackers or something like that. Would complement it well. If you're one of those people like me that appreciate like a piece of orange in your wheat beer, I feel like a slice of orange in this would be really nice. Like, it would give it just a slight bit of orangey citrus to the wheat. And it would really complement it. So, yeah, I mean, if you're wondering, it literally tastes like, I'm going to give you a name here because it's what we have on the West Coast here. And it's such a big name, I think everyone will recognize it. You could compare this to a stronger alcohol content, obviously, Widmer Hefeweizen, right? And I know that's not the German way to pronounce Hefeweizen. But I'm not going to try to pronounce it correctly because I'll do it wrong. That's how we say it here. That being said, yeah, I like it. It does have a little bit of a bitterness on the finish, which some people may not like. But overall, there's absolutely no off flavors that I can taste. It doesn't, everything tastes like it should. I mean, this is great. This is a great wheat beer. So I'm going to go finish this at my leisure, and then I will come back and just give a real quick taste of the commercial beer that I got that's a wheat wine, to give you like a comparison on like how similar are they? Do they have similar profiles? Whatever. It'd just be interesting to see, since I've never made one, how it compares. So I'll be back in a moment to finalize this and let you see the commercial version. So see you in a moment. So by the way, I will just say that I do realize the camera is at an angle, sort of. I have tried to adjust it like 50 times, it feels like, and I just finally gave up. So apologize if it looks like it's at a slight angle. So here's the beer I was telling you about. It's called Crux. It's 2020 Banished Series 5, whatever that means. All Worked Up is the name of it. Barrel-aged wheat wine ale. I'm not going to read all of the, fine print. It's 12.5%, so it's actually a little higher alcohol content than mine. Makes me wonder how they got it that high, because I think it's pretty difficult to get your final beer that high without adding sugar. So I could be wrong, but I mean, I had a pretty big grain bill on my beer. Did they have to wax this thing? I mean, I want to drink it, not... Actually, is this corked? Let's see if I can... it looks all fancy and pretty, like, like wine, right? When you put the wax on it, but this is overkill. I mean, come on. Oh, man. I may have to go get a knife here. In fact, I think I probably will. Wait. It just started to crack here. Maybe. Boy, half my video is just going to be trying to open a dang bottle of beer here. It's weird, too. It's splitting. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's not even... ooh. Just lost some... Apparently, I'm going to need to vacuum when I'm done drinking this beer. Holy cow. Who in the right mind? Yeah, we're going to give you a beer, but we don't want you to actually open it and drink it. Is what it feels like. All right, I tell you what. I'll be back in a second. I'm going to go open this beer. I'll be right back. All right, now that I've got wax everywhere, I'm already not impressed. I think that I've got enough of this to get the top off. There we go. So no cork, regular crown top with the worst wax job ever. Good Lord. This better be good. All right, let's see. Well, I can tell... First of all, just by the color, that it's barrel-aged. I mean, that's pretty typical from my experience of barrel-aged stuff. It's got that sort of, I don't know, amber color from the barrel. And I don't know what kind of barrel. I'm assuming they use like oak barrels, but I don't know if they previously held something. I really just don't even, I don't know if it says... I don't want to get too much into this because this isn't really about, this video is not about this particular beer, but yeah, it does say oak barrels. It says the beer is banished for months in oak barrels. It doesn't really say how long. So, right off the bat, and I'm not being snooty or anything here by saying this, my beer smells better. And I'm a whiskey drinker, so, you know, I'm getting some cinnamon, though. But, I mean, this beer has, I've described this flavor before in the past, where if you try to bottle your beer too soon, you can get a sort of a green apple, young, unripe sort of flavor, because the diacetyl hasn't had time to be reabsorbed by the yeast. And, you know, obviously I wouldn't think that's the case with this, because if it's barrel aged, it must have sat in a barrel for however many months. So, but if you take it off the yeast cake too soon, yeah, I'm getting a lot of cinnamon. Well, let's see what it tastes like. There's no head on it either, by the way. Just want to point that out. Whoa! Holy cow! Okay. Whoa. Okay. I mean, it's no offense. Maybe someone will like this. Crux? Yeah. This is so far removed from what I would think a wheat beer or a wheat wine would taste like. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It has this overpowering oh, what is that flavor? Like butterscotch, maybe. Oh, it's viscous. It's literally viscous. I mean, it looks like there's not much carbonation in it, but what there is, looks like it's having a really hard time even getting through the beer from the bottom to the top. There's no head on it, and yeah, what is that? That's got to be, I want to say butterscotch. It is bizarre and not really entirely pleasant. Wow. Wow. And, you know, like I say, I drink whiskey, and I don't believe that this weird flavor is from a barrel, but I don't know. I don't know what they did, but that was not worth the effort to open. So, hey, what the heck, you know? That's interesting. So, I prefer the one I made, heads and tails above this one. So, obviously, I'm not going to get any endorsement from this brewing company. Anyway, if you want to try my recipe, I'll put it in the description, of course. It's really good, so I really recommend it, that you give it a try. And yeah, if you liked the video, if it inspired you to try making your own wheat wine, or any kind of brewing, I appreciate it if you hit the like button and the subscribe button. And, you know, as always, I'll have another video out in a week, always brewing something. I actually had to remove bags of different grains and things from my table right in front of me here so that I could actually sit down and do the final part of this video. So, I will see you in a week. Until then, happy brewing. It just does not taste right.